I wish my mom were here to hear that introduction. So, I see so many friends in this industry for so long. It's great to see so many old friends here and making some new ones. I also have my wife and my daughter here, okay? And I invited them here, these two beautiful girls in the front. But here's what you need to know. I said, hey, I'm going to do a keynote at a conference in San Francisco on the 28th. Do you want to come? Not really. All right. I said, well, Hillary Clinton's going to be there, It's like, oh, that's sounding more interesting. And I said, well, it's sponsored by Tarkin, and Tarkin's going to be there. They go, we're in. All right, we're in. We're in. Yeah. Any guy that can step off the cover of GQ any day, even probably in his pajamas, is a fan of my bride and my, as I call her, my she-EO. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about software defining the workplace. We're at the end of the week of VMworld, not my favorite conference. Okay. But, I just thought I'd, when I do these talks, just by the way, it's like I get uncomfortable sort of doing a Citrix pitch because I kind of think it's disrespectful to you in the sense of, hey, I'm here to try to advance a conversation in the industry, and hopefully you can take away one small idea that will make a difference in how you think about the world and your point of view. That's just, kind of emptying my pockets here at the beginning. So then that lowers your expectations very nicely, all right? So, so let's get started. I've been in the industry a long, long time. I started my career in the industry in the groupware hype cycle, okay? Then I moved from there to the document imaging and workflow hype cycle. And I've been through quite a few along the way. And so you kind of, learn that, gee, these things just have a, kind of a time frame. And then we move on to another idea. So software-defined things, are not new, all right? And this is a milestone, not a destination. So, we've seen mainframe, client-server, cloud. Right now, here's where we are, software-defined. We're kind of right in between, all right? What's happening here is each succeeding generation is bringing a higher level of abstraction that allows complexity, the visible complexity of things, to be hidden. And, maybe if Hillary were here, she would say, in the political sense, we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors, all right? So how many of you are engineers and learned assembler? Okay. How many of you have written a line of assembler code in the last, in the last 10 years? All right, there. Hey, God bless you, okay? So the point is, it's all still there. It's all still happening. It's just that succeeding levels of abstraction have handled that kind of complexity. And so that we can, have second generation, third, fourth, and coming fifth generation languages to create amazing apps. And my guess is 5 years from now, we'll be talking about build your own apps, okay? People will say, hey, remember that when there were ISVs that built apps? All right. So this is just sort of a milestone. I think what happens actually next, and maybe we'll be focused on this a couple of years from now, will be autonomics. And then what's beyond that is predictive. And that's because these are the higher and higher levels of abstraction that then, in fact, hide the complexity and shift the conversation from how does this stuff work to, hey, what can I do with it? Now, I look at my children, and they grew up digital. I mean, they were born with a 2E in the house and then a 2GS. I was an Apple dealer back then. You know, a Lisa, a Mac, blah, 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 blah. So they've never known a time without computing and digital. And so in spite of all of that, none of them are interested in how it works. They only want to know, what can it do for me? And that's because the level of abstraction gets bigger, better, 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 right, to where you can focus on value delivered as opposed to how it works. Okay? So this is, I think, what we're seeing. And so over time, we're on this incredible asymptotic journey, a journey where we're innovating to zero complexity. Okay? And I said it's asymptotic, right? So that gets me out of jail very nicely. So then I was thinking, you know, software defined, what is that? Well, I mean, did anyone, I missed the morning sessions, did anyone put forth a great way to know if something's software defined or not? Anyone? You know, because I'm kind of thinking, I'm not sure I can define it. It's kind of one of those things where I know it when I see it, okay? So here's my favorite software-defined thing, okay? My software-defined automobile, my Tesla Model S. All right, now, what are its characteristics? First of all, it's a simple machine, all right? I mean, the number of parts in this car is an order of magnitude fewer than in a traditionally built automobile, modern automobile. But the real thing is, the experience I have with it is more determined by the software than it is about the sheet metal, the seats, and all that kind of thing. Like, for example, I don't know about you, maybe I'm a geek. When I go to the car in the morning and I see this on the screen, a software update from my car, I'm going, this is going to be a great day. All right? So you can set the time of day, all right? And then when it does its work, your car is better. Who ever heard of an automobile getting better over time? All right? How is this being done? It's being done on a standardized hardware platform, right, with software, with the right kinds of interfaces that allow the software to define the experience, and a product that then gets better and better. So instead of having a relationship with Tesla that's about, oh, the thing's broken, can you fix it? The relationship I have with Tesla is, go, 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 man, make my car better every day. I can't wait for the next software update. Okay? You can see this one added Wi-Fi and tethering to the car. I remember when I first bought the car, I get it. There's no XM radio in it. I call them up, hey, I ordered XM radio. Don't worry, that's coming in the next software update. Sure enough, a couple weeks later, this happens, boom, I've got the XM radio. Okay? So that's software defined. Let me show you my newest software defined experience, and it's just amazing. I'll leave the expletive out. And it's software defined paper. Okay? And that's it. This is it. This is a Sony digital paper device. All right, I haven't weighed it, but it's feather light. And until you sort of experience it, you can't appreciate it. So this is software defined paper. And it allows me to do some things I can't do, but it just brings a whole new experience to the analog interface you have with a piece of paper. All right? So software defined, I don't know what it exactly means, but I do know that when I see it, I'm going to know it. And so, you know, I sort of got the automobile. You know, I think we know a lot about software defined networks. You know, our NetScaler product is a key piece of every software defined network infrastructure going on around the world. You heard a lot about that this week at VMworld. Certainly you heard a lot about the software defined storage at the conference and here today with Nexenta. And you start putting software-defined compute, software-defined networking, software-defined storage together, and you get what? A software-defined data center, which then ends up being a massive computer where the network is the bus and the memory, the disk, the compute, et cetera, is all hanging off of the network bus. I mean, that's basically what we're talking about here. And I guess, what did Sun say? The network is the computer? All right. In this world, the computer is the network, because the bus is the thing that connects all of the pieces that are the resources that are providing it. So you can add your idea here as you think about your own experience and what software-defined means to you. I think that we've been doing some pretty amazing work at Citrix for a long time around the software-defined workplace. So just like a data center is a physical thing, being software-defined to enable flexibility and economics, velocity, et cetera, we've been doing this similar type of work, but software-defining the workplace itself. So what's a software-defined data center? Well, it's software-defined compute, storage, networking, and the orchestration that makes it all come together. The output, and by the way, this is a factory. This is a factory that produces a product called apps and content, right? That's its output. So if there are trucks or drones or whatever on the outside of one, they would be carrying apps and content. And where do they go? They go to the workplace, where people are there to consume them, and where I think most IT organizations are not quite in the mindset yet that they have to move from being an operator of a manufacturing facility to actually an operator of a distribution and retail network, to have relationships with subscribers and end users that empower them in unique ways and actually supply a consumer-like experience. So a software-defined workplace allows apps and content to be curated, okay? It allows them to be unified, cataloged, if you will. It allows them to be delivered securely, and it allows all of them to come together to be a business service, a set of business services, all right? And in contrast, where a software-defined data center provides great technical outcomes, a software-defined workplace is focused more on business outcomes and, I think, human outcomes as well. And so a data center, we think of physical to virtual, all right? When we think of the workplace, it's about places to spaces, okay? Again, physical to virtual, all right? And because if you move to virtual in the data center, you get this incredible flexibility to move computing and resources around, manage density and efficiency, and some of the things Charles talked about in terms of taking advantage of some of the amazing products that Supermicro makes, some of which they make for us, by the way. But the same applies to doing the same thing in the workplace, where you can get greater density of people, for example. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, all right? And value proposition, data center, it's about provisioning and productivity for IT, CapEx, OpEx, costs, and green in the data center. Unfortunately, green in the data center, I saw some research, I don't know, 2 years ago done by HP, that of all the carbon emissions in the world, data centers account for 1%. Okay, so if you could half the carbon impact of every data center in the world tomorrow, we would only solve 1/2 of 1% of the world's problem. All right. There's a much, much bigger problem in our companies, and that is the biggest carbon footprint that our companies make is when we commute and we fly on a jet somewhere, like to a wonderful conference like this, right? There's massive amount of impact you can make there. And a software-defined workplace, can do that. It allows you to not own stuff so that you can, because I think at some point in time, a term of employment will be digital tools, like a smartphone, like a tablet or some kind of device. And, it'll be yours. There was a time when, if you worked in a steel mill, the mill provided steel-toed boots. Okay, if you wanted to work there, they'd employ you, they'd give you the boots. Eventually, it became a term of employment. That will happen with digital tools. It's just bound to happen. And, the impact of a software-defined workplace is very much around human kinds of things and making changes, faster onboarding, greater retention, productivity, et cetera. So this is what we're talking about when we think about the software-defined workplace. So we're really privileged at Citrix. Just a big picture view here. Last year, almost $3 billion in revenue, over 9,000 people. Partners is a huge part of our go-to-market strategy and how we reach customers. 100 countries, and we have a lot of customers around the world. We're very privileged. The way we run the business is a very, very simple formula, okay? And it goes something like this. We focus on two kinds of value. Employee value, which is all about having a fabulous culture, all right? And we add to that customer value, which means having great empathy for customers, not only for the problems they face today, but the problems we envision them facing tomorrow. And, Citrix is 25 years old this year. And if you do these two things every single day for 25 years, you get a pretty good outcome, all right? So, naturally people would say, all right, this plus this equals shareholder value. And yes, that's fine, all right? But that's really not the center of what we think about at Citrix. We think this equals pride, okay? We think this equals having an impact and leaving the world a better place than the way you found it. That's what we really think this formula is about. And it all matters because investors matter. We're all investors and the stakeholders in the company. But this is our formula, and it's very, very, very simple. I like to try to keep things simple. So what do we do? I'm just going to quickly go through this. We have, you may know us by like Zen App, Zen Desktop, Zen Mobile. These are app service controllers, and they aggregate and handle security and access control and the monitoring of Windows apps, web apps, and mobile apps. That's what they do. You may know us by the other piece that goes with it, and that's the service agent that's called Citrix Receiver. It's available. It runs on like over 3 billion devices, thin clients are built around it. There are apps for every single native apps for everything. We just released a new Chrome OS app, so if you're a Chromebook fan, you get an amazing experience there accessing any of our app service controllers. You may know us by NetScaler, which is our delivery networking product, where NetScaler sits in front of most, like 90% of the world's largest enterprise e-com, .com, and cloud services. So if you like the mega clouds that are out there, all right, you love NetScaler. If you like searching on the web, your choice of search engines, NetScaler is in front of them, all right? If you like shopping at lots of the big retailers and, and so forth, I'm not allowed to drop names, by the way, then, so every day, that's a NetScaler demo, and that's handling the speed, the security, and the efficiency of the back-end infrastructure, all right? So you may know us that way. You may know us by our mobile apps, GoToMeeting, ShareFile, apps that allow millions of people to collaborate, to share information, documents, et cetera, and to be more productive. Or you may know us by our cloud platform and orchestration products. We're very involved in the cloud stack, open source, and Zen open source movement, and we have distributions of those products that allow you to build an open source cloud orchestration platform. So that's what Citrix does. And the way to think about this is we bring all these pieces together to allow you to build and distribute mobile workspaces and with apps and delivery infrastructure by Citrix. So that's what we're about, what we do. And so why you care? We allow people and teams to work anywhere, and we allow services to be made anywhere, which is hugely valuable because over time, people, teams, where they work, their constructs, all right, change. And over time, the services you need to make them productive changes, okay? So the ability to actually mediate that problem is what we do. So the way we like to think of it is, helping IT become an app service provider by delivering something that's really secure and irresistible, that's mobile, all right, and a fantastic workspace experience. Now, this is a whole lot like Netflix and the experience. How many have Netflix accounts? Okay, good. So it's like Netflix, so think about this, all right? So here's Netflix. They're delivering an irresistible entertainment experience. How are they doing it? Well, any browser, okay? They have Netflix apps. They're embedded in TVs. And on the other end, they're doing all the negotiating with all of the content providers to plug in the back end. And they've even gone as far as to commission custom content so that you have a preference for Netflix. I love House of Cards. I'm surprised Hillary didn't say that was her favorite program. Right? Okay. But you got to go to Netflix to watch it. All right. So what they're trying to do is build that stickiness and that engagement. All right. So that's where you want to go for entertainment programming. So it's a very simple idea. So Netflix is device independent, any browser or mobile app or appliance, and they're content independent. So they can plug into any video or audio content. So our very simple idea is, well, and this is how it works. They can curate from anywhere. They can then, I don't know about you, but a big reason I use it is when it recommends something, the hit rate is about 90%. And it finds things that I wouldn't find in a million years to enjoy. So it has predictiveness around its service. It's any screen, No one from Netflix ever called me up and said, hey, are you getting that new Sony 4K, screen for Christmas? I hope so, because, you can join our service. They don't care. Then continuity, very important, right? You can start on a tablet, you can move to your TV, you can move from a TV in a family room to a bedroom, whatever, all right? And you get total continuity across all those various contexts. And the value is this experience. I mean, that's what, in the end, they don't produce, they're not a studio, okay? So they don't produce the content. They don't make TVs, all right? So they're not on that end. Everything is about curating, aggregating, and giving us an amazing experience that we prefer for being entertained. It's pretty simple. So, and its architecture is just as simple. At the head end, there are unification services. That's where all the different pieces of content plug in. At the other end is the service agent, which is a set-top box, or it could be a mobile app, browser. By the way, Apple, iTunes and Apple TV works exactly the same way. So does Fire TV, and Amazon Prime works exactly the same way. There'll be more coming from Google, I'm sure, with Chromecast as that service agent. And in the middle is the delivery network, which is where there's a really interesting battle playing out, right? Netflix having to pay for access, AT&T buying DirecTV. Why? They want the delivery network. right? Because it's the weakest link in the chain for service, and it's part of the intimacy you get with the end customer, which is what every one of these service providers want. So when IT is an app service provider, same architecture, any device, browser, appliance, any digital business tool or content on the other end, and the infrastructure, unification services, delivery services, agent services to provide this secure, irresistible workspace experience. And this is how Netflix is actually, and others like them, have disrupted and really changed the game around these three dimensions. Engagement, all right? Well, it's the magic because they want you to keep coming back. So the experience is personalized. They do the prediction, and they do the aggregation, so you can go to one place. It's a one-stop shop. Transformation. You can change your whole, behavior in watching things. I don't know about you, but I love to binge watch, whatever it is my, Downton Abbey. I like to binge watch House of Cards. I like to binge watch 24, some others, all right? They allow you to interrupt, pause, start, move screens, etc. So they're transforming the whole workflow experience, entertainment flow experience. And they completely reinvented entertainment. They moved the theater, to your home. They moved it to the browser. They moved it to your mobile device, okay? So we think that a software-defined workplace does these three things as well, okay? That first of all, on workforce engagement, it allows IT to provide a curated set of experiences that are irresistible and fit the kind of user and customer population that they serve, including enabling self-service devices, BYO, and aggregating all the content that's needed to be to really feel an engagement. Millennials, this is how you keep them. And engagement is the #1 factor in retention of people. And retention of people, is a massive either cost or actually asset, on your balance sheet and income statement when you do the math. Workflow transformation. Well, again, continuity across context. I can move across various types of devices and get access to the various types of data and apps, whether they're monolithic apps built around a Windows world, or they're a micro app built around a mobile world, or they're web apps that are, have a foot in both of those worlds, actually. Enabling shortest paths so people are more productive, connections across organizations, et cetera, predictive content. And then in terms of workplace reinvention, your office is kind of in your pocket or any device, and you can take it anywhere you want to study or work or collaborate or play, et cetera. It's completely disconnected from the physicality of the world. That's what a software-defined workplace is. And the business outcomes are profound in terms of how they impact the cost of onboarding, recruiting, retaining people, the facilities costs around densities and utilization of facilities. Most offices, what the occupancy rate of an average office is today? Anybody know? Yes? 50%, 45, 50%, okay? That's crazy. That is crazy, especially given that real estate costs are about 5 to 10% of an average organization's cost structure. Lots and lots of business outcomes here that are profound in terms of being able to reach new talent, retain talent, handle moves, adds, changes, M&A, growth, branch operations, et cetera. This is what a software-defined workplace can do, and the kind of impact we're talking about. So this is what we do at Citrix, and it's been a journey here. It's been a journey that started in 2001, where we decided to make a video that captured our ideas. We called it the virtual workplace. And it was a story about a guy that has a business situation, and the transfer of the workspace from a big screen to you see this mobile device using different types of security, voice-based security, finger-based security, a metaphor that's very different from what we are used to, like with a Windows desktop, being able to smoothly roam to various types of screens, to be able to collaborate internally with video, audio, documents, applications, as well as externally across boundaries, and produce a business outcome at the end where they win the business. All right, that was our idea back in 2001. That led us to where we are today. An interesting journey. That's we're still working on many of the ideas that are in that video. In fact, there were 10 ideas that we put together, and I'm not going to go through these with you, but there were 10 ideas that we wrote down that formed the basis for that video. But I think in this list, the most important one, okay, of all, is the last one on this list. And that was about creating business and human outcomes. And the reason it was on the list is that we firmly believe then, and we believe now, that the only purpose of technology is to create business and human outcomes. We get so wound up in how it works and how many IOPS, and I mean, all that's good stuff, I'm not dissing it. It's just that that's not the point, all right? The point is this stuff is for creating human and business outcomes. And when we describe those outcomes, this is how we describe it. This is our signature: work better, live better, all right? And if you think about what's going on around the world, the geopolitical problems around the world, and if more people paid attention to education and delivering education and making that a foundation for underserved, the world would be a much different place. And it will be, because we'll keep working on this as long as I'm the chief, because we believe in this. So Buddha said, we become what we believe. I truly believe that. And at Citrix, what we believed always is that work is not a place. And by looking at the world through that lens, we think we can build that software-defined workplace so that people can work better and people can live better. So that's what I have to say today in this OpenSDx conference. So thank you again. It's a pleasure to be here.